This isn't just another competition. It's the dawn of a new era for a sport deeply rooted in heritage. A brand new format designed for speed and spectacle is fully unleashed right here at the 2025 Pentathlon World Cup Final. Hello and welcome to a fitting location. Alexandria, with its millennia of history, is the perfect backdrop for this historic shift. The Eurasian Hupo out in the bright sunlight. Make no mistake, the conditions today are as formidable as the competition. That Egyptian sun isn't just bright, it's brutal. And this will be a test of willpower as much as skill, pushing every athlete to their absolute limit. First, through the fencing direct elimination. We start with a round of 16 here, just 16 athletes in this semi-final in a straight knockout. The athletes then move on to the 70-meter 8-obstacle course, where they'll be racing in pairs, but importantly against the clock. Fastest time for the most pentathlon ranking points. We move from the obstacles to the pool, a 200-meter swim, 8 laps of this 25-meter pool. Again, another race against the clock. We move on to the final pair of disciplines combined into the laser run. Athletes will complete 5 laps of the 600-meter course, going around the first lap before entering the range for the very first time. 5 on-target shots on the 10-meter range will release the athletes into their next lap. And after the 4th visit to the range, these 16 athletes will be running around this double loop track, vying for just 9 coveted spots in Sunday's grand final. The stakes couldn't be higher. The action is about to begin here, live from the Arab Academy for Science, Technology and Maritime Transport. We already have 9 through from the first semi-final. About to complete the final lineup here, and the sun is absolutely beating down on this amazing venue, multi-sports venue. And here are the 16 in ranking order. So part of the history being made here is that there has been no seeding round for the fencing knockout stages. The seeding is based on the cumulative average of the athletes' fencing rounds at the 3 World Cups that have happened already this season. So 16 about to become 9. And we'll find out which 9 will join the 9 from semi-final A, and let's go straight down to meet the athletes. Ranked first for this semi-final in the fence, medalled in relays, Aurora Tognetti from Italy, and a silver medal in the team relay at the 2023 World Championships. We'll wait for the cheer. Egypt's Paris Olympian got a bronze medal last weekend at the Junior World Championships in Hungary, Malak Ismail. Louison Cazali from France, junior European silver medalist last year. Got a 10th place finish at the Cairo World Cup earlier on this season. Beatrice Mercuri from Italy, ranked number 4 for the ranking round, or sorry, for the DE round of the fencing competition. Kurieva, neutral athlete, was a silver medalist at the Cairo World Cup. Expect her to play a part later down the line, and as you can see, she's using a straight grip, a French grip, so she'll be pommeling. Well, enjoying the funky tunes being played out here. Another a French athlete coming out. Blanca Guzzi follows Rebecca Castaldi. Guzzi missing out on a medal at the Paris 2024 Olympic Games. Finishing 4th. Well, here's the bronze medalist from the last Olympics, Seung-min from Korea. One of 2 Koreans ranked next to each other in the fencing ranking round. Another Pomala, Kim Yuri. Her best finish this season was 19th at the Budapest World Cup.
Representing Poland,
Eighth at the Pazajic World Cup. The Pole, Margazeta Karbovnik. She was also competing at the Junior World Championships last season. Now the Pole, Adriana Kapala. 30th place finish at that World Cup in Bulgaria, enough for Kapala to make it through to the World Cup final. The second of the Egyptians in this second semi-final, Zeina Ama, 16th at the Cairo World Cup, making it through to the final there. 14th at the Junior World Championships last weekend in Hungary. Vivian Mayer is representing Switzerland.
Representing Austria,
Well, representing Australia, Genevieve Janse van Rensburg, another Paris Olympian. She finished 24th in the French capital last summer in very similar conditions, you have to say.
Representing Greece, Ariadne Naskari.
Second year competing on the World Cup circuit. Greek athlete Ariadne Naskari.
Representing Germany, Janine Kohlmann.
Well, here's a long-standing athlete. Competed at the Olympics of Rio 2016. Finished 12th at the European Games in Krakow in 2023 in a career that spanned well over a decade. Janine Kohlmann will represent Germany. Well, there is the lineup of 16 pentathletes for the second women's semi-final here at the 2025 World Cup final. Those are the athletes. I'm Karen Bashir, and joining me, a Youth Olympic Games finalist and African Championship silver medalist, Alida van der Merwe. Alida, the conditions here are absolutely incredible. We'll start with the fence where they're wearing all this full body kit. How hard is this going to be?
Karim, it will be a tough one. I mean, the sun is beaming down onto the athletes here. We even had a feel of the fencing piece and our feet were burning already, but nevertheless, it's affecting all the athletes equally, so they will be adapting to these weather conditions. And as you can see, a few of them with the shades out, just to cover that sunlight that they'll be beaming through their fencing masks.
Well, we've got 2 pieces on show here. I'll cover the action on the feature piece, where we're going to see the Italian Tognetti, the #1 ranked fencer, going up against the #16 ranked fencer, Kohlmann from Germany. And Alida is going to pick up the action on the B piece, which will appear picture in picture, where Naskari of Greece takes on #2 seed Ismail from Egypt. Semi-final B here at the World Cup final, and the women's competition is underway, and Aurora Tognetti gets off the mark. If you're new to pentathlon fencing, it's an épée that they fence with. The whole body's target. You've got to hit your opponent with the tip of your sword. The first fencer to hit scores the point, but if you hit within 200ths of a second of your opponent, you will get the hit as well. That's called a double, when you see 2 coloured lights come up on that graphic at the bottom of your screen. Kohlmann snapping straight back. The fight's 1 minute long, first to 5 hits, or whoever's leading when time runs out. If the scores are level, the higher seed progresses. So Tognetti here at the moment with the advantage, even though the score is level. Alida, action on B?
Score is 3-2 for Naskari. Naskari just picks up that third point. 33 seconds left. Malik Ismail, the higher seeded fencer, she'll need to make moves here. She wants to carry on through this direct elimination round.
Coleman upsetting things on the feature piece here in close quarters, getting the redouble of the attack to go 2-1 up, and now the pressure on Tognetti to level up.
Tension is picking up here on piece B. Less than 20 seconds left. Malik Ismail down for 3-2. And it's a victory for Malik Ismail, evening out the score for 3-3. Priority in favor of Ismail due to the higher seeded fencer. So less than 8 seconds left on the clock.
We've got less than 2 seconds here, and time is going to run out. And Tognetti makes it through, having hit with a remise to level the score. She goes through as the higher seed.
Score is 3-4 for Ismail. Naskari looks at that attack, then it's a double and a victory for Malik Ismail. She'll proceed through to the quarterfinals.
Here we see the remise, second remise in fact, of the attack from Tognetti that gets her through to the quarterfinals of the fencing knockout round. And coming out, the two Koreans will face each other, Kim and Seong on piste. Seong on the right-hand side, Kim on the left, Seong with the higher ranking. Hasn't started to come out for the B piste just yet, but a leader will keep us abreast of what's going on there. They're just coming out from the shadows, staying in the shade as we begin here. Kim on the left, Seong on the right. Only one of these Koreans will make it through. And you see now the difference in the types of grips. Two types of grips. Kim using what's known as the French grip. It's a straight grip, so you can hold it a little bit further away from the guard, giving you that little bit of extra reach. With that extra reach, you lose some control and strength. And the pistol grip being used by Seong, will likely see her trying to take actions off her opponent's blade.
Up next on piece B, we're waiting for the start of Karbovnik and Guzi. Winner of this match will be up against next of Malik Ismail of Egypt.
So halfway through the match on the A piste, and Seong launching a flèche attack, a running attack. Flèche, the French word for arrow, because that's what the fencer looks like as they're flying through the air. But the French gripping pommeler Kim able to land a double and maintain the lead. This time Seong going for a two-phase attack, beating the blade, luring the counter-attack, and then landing the finish. So leveling up at 3 apiece. Seong, the higher seeded fencer, with the priority if the score stays the same.
Piece B is up and going, and Guzi goes for the attack. It is a double point, making the score 1-1 in the first 10 seconds of this bout.
Well, as time runs away, we're inside the last 10 seconds on the A piste. Kim launching attack from too far away. Seong soaring coming and seals the deal. Seong through to face Tognetti on the top of the draw. Song of Korea through.
Karbovnik picked up that previous point, making the score 2-1. She goes for the flèche attack, but it's a double point. Doubles in favor of Karbovnik in this position, but it seems like score is 3-2. 30 seconds on the clock.
Well, the sharp amongst you would have seen the angle of the one of the replays there, showing you what the pistol grip looks like. Called a pistol grip because your hand looks like it's holding a gun when it's in position. So we now move on to the first of our Egyptian athletes. Amma on the right going up against Huriyeva, the neutral athlete on the left on the feature piste.
20 seconds on the clock for Piece B. As Karbovnik goes for that flash attack, gets that one light. It is 5-3, and we'll say goodbye to Guzi and welcome Ishmael and Karbovnik up next in the quarterfinals.
Both athletes taking it a little bit easy here. Huryeva, the highest seeded fencer, 5th. Pressing the go button was Amma, but Amma launching her attack from too far away, and an easy counter pick-off from Huryeva.
Athletes on Piece B will be Kapala of Poland and Rebecca Costadi of France.
Amma struggling on the attack, and Huryeva's controlling this one from the start with the highest seed. She played the percentages and is playing a defensive game here. Let's not write Amma off just yet, but she needs to close the distance before she starts her attack. She'll just get picked off, and a double is not going to help very much for Zaina Amma. She's off the scoreboard, but Huryeva maintains the 2-point lead. Now Huryeva wanting to finish the job off here, just to let Amma step in without any real decision to go for an attack. So Huryeva took the blade, and she takes the blade for the final hit, and the highest seeded neutral athlete goes through on the A-piece. Huryeva into the quarterfinals.
Still no score here on Piece B. Kapala went for a flash, didn't quite get it up against Costadi. Costadi is the highest seeded fencer, just waiting for Kapala's moves to respond to that. And Kapala goes for the flash again, but doesn't quite get past Costadi. Kapala is a left-handed fencer, so she needs to go to the opposite side of the right-handed fencer, Costadi.
Well, coming on the A-piece, Vivian Mayer of Switzerland on the left, up against Beatrice Mercuri of Italy on the right. Mercuri, the higher-ranked fencer, but Vivian Mayer can certainly fence. Two righties begin their round of 16 match on the A-piece.
As a Kapala went for that flash, it was Costadi picked up that first point of this bout. There's 34 seconds left on the clock, and it's a yellow card for Kapala, core, that body collision. Another yellow card will mean a red card, so Kapala needs to take care now of those flashes. Double point on Piece B. And as Costadi picks up that third point, just 18 seconds left on the clock. Costadi in a comfortable position here. She just needs to wait for Kapala as she goes towards the back of the piece. And it's Costadi picks up that fourth point.
Well, meanwhile here, Mercuri had got the lead, but a very patient Vivian Mayer got her attack on the second phase to level things up, and now has gone 2-1 up, and Mercuri remonstrating with the referee to suggest Mercuri's hit was on the carpet, and it was indeed annulled.
Scores 2-4, Piece B, less than 2 seconds left on the clock. But it times out, and it's a victory for Costadi.
Well, just as Costadi gets through, we've seen Vivian Mayer blocked out by Mercuri, but on her remise, she hit her opponent's foot, and Vivian Mayer said she's a good fencer. Looks like she could be causing an upset here on the A-piece. Vivian Mayer from Switzerland, 3-1 up now with just 3 seconds to go. Mercuri gets one back. She's going to have to motor at the same pace to level things up. Mercuri, the highest seeded fencer, just needs one here. She's got time, but time runs out on her, and Vivian Mayer of Switzerland upsets things here in the top half of the draw, taking out the 4th ranked fencer, Mercuri, to make it into the quarterfinals. Second hit for Mayer was one of determination. was actually the first attack that landed for the Swiss athlete. Another Florence in the crowd, coach as well, cheering them on. Well, we go into the quarterfinals on the A piece, Tognetti against Song, but we still have one more 16 match on the B piece. Louison Casale from France taking on Genevieve Janse van Rensburg. What's going on over there, Alida?
Score still 0-0, 50 seconds on the clock. Two French group athletes. Casale, the highest seeded fencer here, but it's Janse van Rensburg who's just patiently waiting. Not much happening, and she goes for the attack but doesn't quite get it. Pushing Casale towards the back of the piece now.
Meanwhile here, Song has got off to the better start, launching an attack. It was picked up by Tognetti, but Tognetti wasn't sharp with her riposte, and Xiong landed a remise. A double follows, so Xiong still in the box seat here. She does seem to be quite an aggressive fencer, so when she gets the opportunity, she goes for it.
Less than 20 seconds left on the clock. Casale picks up her first point, scores 1-1. Janse van Rensburg and Casale. Janse van Rensburg will need to look for that attack. Goes for the foot, doesn't get it. Will she use it as a feint attack in preparation? And it's point for Janse van Rensburg, making the score 2-1. Less than 7 seconds on the clock. Tension is building up on piece B. And it's Casale evens out the score 2-2. Doubles in favor of Casale.
Well, here, Xiong now settling into a bit more of a defensive posture. She's actually showing the bait, and as soon as I say that, she goes out on the attack, and a remise for Tognetti gets her within 1. 9 seconds to go. This for a place in the semi-finals.
Action on piece B, timed out, victory for Casale of France, and we say goodbye to Janse van Rensburg.
At the same time, we'll say goodbye to the #1 seed, Tognetti. Tognetti going out after an aggressive performance from Xiong Xinmin.
We'll have an all-French quarterfinals with Casale and Castadi up next.
Well, here we get a look back at the final hit for Song. So Xiong from Korea, the #8 seed, has taken out the #1 seed. And she is into the semi-finals of the fence. We now switch to the feature piece for the remainder of the matches. Out on piste for this match, we have Karbovnik of Poland on the left and Ismail of Egypt on the right.
Both these athletes recently participated in the Junior World Championships. They are familiar with each other's fencing styles, but it's Ismail who launches herself for the attack, but it's Karbovnik who picks it up. Karbovnik just straightening her blade out. Ismail, the highest seeded fencer in this bout. Ismail setting up her attack now. She needs to make a move, but it's Karbovnik who picks it just up on Ismail's leg. Ismail questioning if it was not on the floor, perhaps. But as you know, if a touch is scored on the floor, it is earth, so it should not have a light point out. But at times we have the weapon going outside of the piece onto the carpet.
So entertaining, this fight, that we're starting to get some canine observers on the field of play. I wonder if they've got tickets. Didn't see any accreditation wrapped around his neck. That was a beautiful change of pace there. The explosive nature required in fencing being demonstrated by Karbovnik, and I know there are a few Polish female épéistes who would have been proud of that step lunge attack.
Yeah, brilliant from Ismail there. Went for the low line and finished up high. Went for that feint below, but it's 1-1, less than 30 seconds on the clock. Ismail highest seeded. Karbovnik will be looking for those lunges as she did in the previous round, and she goes for it. Perfect timing, just underneath parry 8, underneath Malik Ismail's hand there.
Yeah, very nice. She's got a lovely little step lunge, Karbovnik. This time going with a beat on the blade, and again, this time with a fleisch. So the explosive nature of the attack is what's catching Malak Ismail off guard here. She's getting her right halfway through a step forward, so there's no change of direction coming.
And it's great stuff from Karbovnik, switching it up between the lunge attack and the fleisch attack. But it's Ismail who will be fighting back. It's less than 10 seconds left. A fleisch, and it's a double light. Dangerous here for Ismail, but Karbovnik on a roll. Less than 10 seconds left. Ismail needs to look for those single lights here. No doubles. To go to the fleisch, it gets untidy. Karbovnik just took a blade towards the outside, and Ismail couldn't quite get through there.
A Septime parry for those in the know.
And here we have it, victory for Karbovnik as we say goodbye to Ismail. Karbovnik through to the semi-finals, will be up against the winner of Kazali and Kastaudi.
Another upset here in the quarterfinals. The top two seeds are now out of the fence. And I've got to say, Karbovnik demonstrated some beautiful step lunges. The explosive nature, change of direction, absolutely tip-top the pole through to the semi-finals. Well, this is the all-French quarterfinal that Alida mentioned. Kazali against Kastaudi. And this for an opportunity to come up against Karbovnik in the semi-final.
As you see, Kazali with the star next to her name, the highest seeded fencer in this bout. So these athletes are familiar with each other's fencing styles. It will be a tricky bout.
This one is with rank 3 and 6 against each other in this quarterfinal.
Kazali with the French grip, looking for those direct actions. Kastaudi looking for more controlled actions. Searching for the blade. It gets close quarters. No point there.
Yeah, the piece is earthed, but there's a lip around it with a blue carpet on it. That isn't earth. The earth piece means it won't register if the point hits it for either athlete.
Kastaudi picks up the first point of this bout. Fleisch attack. Kazali will need to respond. As you can see, she's pushing Kastaudi just towards the back of the piece now, setting up that preparation. Look at those feints with her feet. Kastaudi looks for that parry 8's fleisch, but doesn't quite get past. And
yeah, Kazali's closing the distance, isn't she? She's defending against it. These two will know each other really well, so they'll know each other's strengths and weaknesses. And Kazali playing a little bit of a scrappy game here, given that she's the higher seed.
Ideally, with the French grip, you want to make use of those direct actions. Not too much of parries done, but Kazali goes for that fleisch there, and it's Kastaudi picks up the point. Kazali needs to look for those direct actions and make use of that reach that she can have with that French grip. But Kazali goes for it as Kastaudi just picks it up in the first few seconds. 11 seconds left on this bout.
Well, Kastaudi was the one making it simple there, just going straight to body.
Point. No, we'll have to wait for that. Seems as if it's still 3-0, no point there, so they'll start with a ref called halt. And it's Kastaudi who goes for that lunge attack. Perfect on her preparation and distancing of Kazali, which is really making use of those surprise attacks there. Victory for Kastaudi. We say goodbye to Kazali of France. Kastaudi will be up next against Karbovnik of Poland in the semi-finals.
And you called it right from the start. The big blade actions from the pommel, the French grip, was the thing that made it so easy for Kastaudi. Kastaudi able to land just a couple of direct hits to body because of the blade movement from her French opponent. Interesting there. Kastaudi then causing the third upset of the quarterfinals. One more to come here. Hurieva against Meyer. Hurieva on the right, Meyer on the left, and we saw how good a fencer Meyer is in the last round. Meyer ranked 13th coming into the fence. Hurieva, number 5.
Maya, only 17 years of age, so really releases all the pressure off of her. She can really just enjoy the competition and get all the experience she can up against Hurieva. But it's Hurieva, the higher seeded fencer. Vivian Maver just looking for that attack there. She does so patiently, pushing Hurieva towards the back of the piece. Not much movement happening right now, but it's Hurieva just using that faint movements with her front leg. Goes for that lunge, nips it just on Maya's hand there.
Just not enough intent from the Swiss fencer. Wonder if she's been inspired by a surprise medal for the Swiss women's épée team at the recent European Fencing Championships in Italy. I wouldn't be too surprised if she trains with that group.
Hurieva just went for that attack, didn't quite get that first point, went for a second action. It is a point for Maya.
Yeah, Hurieva went past her, so she's allowed one
yeah.
go at her opponent as she goes past, and she landed it. Advantage still with the number 5 seed, though, with nearly 5 seconds to go. Vivian Maya has to go for it.
Oh, and it's point for Maya. Just as she pushes Hurieva towards the end of the piece. Look at Florence Denishert, her mother, reacting. And it's times out she ducks for the point, doesn't quite get it. Victory for Maya. What a comeback from the Swiss athlete.
She's a great fencer and has great grit as well. So real upset through all of the quarterfinals. The higher seeded fencers all going out, opening the door for a big change in the order after the fence. Maya, wow, she showed not only that she's skillful, she's doing the footwork herself for her daughter. Maya showing not only that she's a classy fencer, but also got bags and bags of grit. Well, Maya will have to stay on, and this could be pretty brutal because let's not forget the sun is shining. There is not a cloud in the sky, and Maya now going to the end that is slightly more disadvantageous because the sun is just tipped over in front of Maya and will be shining in her eyes. She's going up against Sung-min. And notice that the masks here, we saw a bit earlier on some of the athletes using a bit of tape as a sort of sun visor, if you like, inside the mask, but we haven't seen that here in this second semi-final.
I think it was Zena Amma who made use of that taping and the rest of them using the sunglasses, but here we have Xiongming Xiong and Maya. Xiongming Xiong, Paris Olympian, also last year's world champion, bringing the experience to the field. Maya, the young athlete, just making a breakthrough of a season here. Nothing to lose for Maya. She applies pressure, just waiting for Xiong to go for that attack, and Xiong picks up the first point of this bout. Maya to look and switch up her strategy here, whether it be switch between the different parries that she's using, but Xiong goes for that flesh attack. Great fencing finesse from Xiong. Still early days in this bout, 30 seconds left. 2-0 for Xiong. Maya setting up her attack. Xiong goes, and it's a flesh from Maya, but it's Xiong who just picks it up on Maya's flesh there. Simple step back, opening the distance, picks up the point.
Well, we saw the Eurasian Hupo earlier on, and now we've seen a couple of ducks.
12 seconds left. 4-0 for Xiong. Maya looking to change things up. But it's Maya who picks up that point just on Xiong's attack. Only 5 seconds left. Not much that can happen. And Maya picks it up on that second intention action. It's a bit late for Maya now. Time ticks up, and victory to Xiong of Korea.
Yeah, a couple of consolation hits at the end, but it looked like Xiong had just decided this is enough. I can just relax off now. I've got one more fight to go to win the fence, or to have a chance of winning the fence. But taking a look back in the clear sunshine, there was the first of the Korean ducks, and that got her the point. absolutely solid with the hand, going down into the 8 line, the octave line, and then coming straight back up. The hand staying absolutely perfectly in position. Just the movement of the fingers and the wrist. Well, now we go down to the bottom half of the draw as Karbownik from Poland takes on Castaudi of France. Castaudi on the right-hand side. This for a place in the fencing final, the first of the 5 disciplines in this women's semi-final here at the 2025 World Cup final.
Castaudi with the priority. She made it through to all the finals of the World Cup this season, so we'll be applying that experience as she picks up the first point of this bout in the first 10 seconds. Karbownik will need to respond. We've seen Karbownik making use of that simple disengage octave lunge attacks. Will she be using that again or change it up? She goes for it, gets stuck there, doesn't quite get through to the top as she has in the past.
Yeah, this time going for an octave coupe where you get hold of the blade and then you flick over the top of the opponent's tip and come around the other side.
Seems as if it's a touch on the side of the piece, so no point there. 40 seconds left. Castaudi in a dangerous position towards the back of the piece as Karbownik went for that lunge, and as Castaudi picks it up, just a disengage, hand towards the back and just picked it up there in the last few seconds. Karbownik needs to switch it up now with the previous attack she's been using. Goes for a long distance, and it's Karbownik who picks it up on her lunge.
Yeah, the difference there, Karbownik, you saw on the first one, the little trial attack, she threw her arm out, and that's what lost out the last hit. That's what got Castaudi her second hit. Karbownik coming in, starting her lunge with her feet, and then throwing her arm out. She quickly learnt from that. I wonder if the coach is shouting, arm first from the stands.
Yeah, if Karbownik is looking for those attack on her preparation, she needs to wait for Castaudi's step forward to clock it, but she goes for it. Distance isn't quite there. It's too far for Karbownik. She goes again, but as Castaudi just gets it on close quarters. She's reading Karbownik perfectly. She knows she's going for that attack and just disengages and escapes from Karbownik's blade to pick up the point. There's 3-1, 17 seconds left. No point there. They'll just need to fix the time.
Yeah, Karbownik, you called it. It's attacking from too far away, but time is against her here. She's step in and close the distance, but that's exactly how to counter it. When you know your opponent has only got one option, you can deal with it straight away. You know what's coming at you.
5 seconds left. Castaudi towards the back of the piece. It's a double light victory to Castaudi of France. We'll see Castaudi in the finals up against Jeong of Korea. Great run there from Castaudi.
Wasn't too far off from Karbownik. Just those couple of hits where she went in with the feet first. I mean, you call it a schoolboy error in fencing. There you go. You can see the arms bent and the distance is already closed. And that allows Castaudi to just get her arm out. And even though she's looking for a parry, she's got time to come back up into line. Karbownik with something simple to fix, simple in concept. It takes a lot of practice in training. So we move on to the last of the fencing matches in this B semi-final, a second semi-final. Jeong from Korea on the left-hand side, Castaudi of France on the right.
Jeong, your bronze medalist in the Paris Olympic Games, and Castaudi, your 2-time junior world champion. Jeong applying pressure to Castaudi, but it's Castaudi goes for that flesh, gets it in the last action there, starting this bout off in the first 10 seconds. Jeong goes for that flesh, looking for that straight line. It's a double point there. Castaudi telling herself what to do next. Changing rhythm here. Jeong closing up on the distance, searching for that blade. She goes for the foot, doesn't quite get it. She'll use it as a feint attack, but it's Castaudi who responds on that feint. It looks like it's a point outside. No point there. Will still be 1-2. They'll start with the ref called halt. Xiong making use of those feint attacks. As it's a double point, Kastari responds. Kastari just looking to straighten her blade out. As you can see, just that curvature, not ideal at all.
Yeah, the S-bend often spells the beginning of the end for a fencing weapon. Xiong playing a really clever tactic here, just pushing and pushing and pushing. She is an aggressive fencer, but she's pushing her opponent right to the back line and forcing her to have to come out on the attack and then just picking her off. She's keeping it nice and simple in terms of the strategy, but at the moment, Kastaudi's struggling to get to grips with it.
Yeah, with this technique, Xiong is really relying on her quick reactions that she needs to respond with a step back on Kastaudi's attack as she gets that point on the disengage. Making the score 3-2. Anything can happen in these 16 seconds in this final bout. Kastaudi switching it up, putting the pressure on to Xiong. She'll be looking for that flesh attack with a feint, setting it up. Doesn't quite go for the high line, gets it in last second for Kastaudi.
And Kastaudi, with that, has got herself into pole position here because she is the higher seeded fencer.
Double point, doubles in favor of Kastaudi. 5 seconds left. Now, question is, will Xiong push up against Kastaudi? Will Kastaudi look for that surprise attack up against Xiong?
Yeah, now it's a game of cat and mouse. They've got to guess what the other one's going to do. Eyes open with the first step from both of them for sure, having a look what their opponent does.
And they're off. Xiong putting their pressure on, as we did say so, but it's, oh, no point there.
After the halt, they both crossed each other. They were sideways on the piece. Referee called halt before the final remise from Xiong.
2 seconds left. Kastaudi goes for that flesh. Victorious is Kastaudi of France. She wins this final round up against Xiong, but Xiong will be scoring those 244 points and Kastaudi the 250.
She had to dig deep, didn't she, the French athlete? She was behind for a long part of that, but relied on her tactical decision-making to nick the win. But I have to say, Xiong's little half steps and little body movements were a thing of beauty.
Just that straight hand from Kastaudi, that timing just to get that straight hand directly forward.
And watch the back shoulder twisting away to make the body, and it's not just the reach, but also the body evasion, so there's less target to hit. And so Korea's attack misses. Good final, huh? Good fencing.
Yeah, really exciting bout there.
Kabovnik, Kastaudi and Xiong, the star fencers here, along with Meyer, and here's how things panned out. Kastaudi, in the end, coming through the bottom half of the draw, beating Nancy van Rensburg, her teammate Kazale. Kabovnik in a great fight, good fencing in that one, and a brilliant final against Xiong. Kastaudi taking the fence here at the World Cup final semi-finals, and this is how things have changed up. Look at the climb up the rankings for Vivian Meyer in 4th place, 7 places up for Karbovnik, and 6 and 5 for Xiong and Kastaudi, respectively. Tonietti dropping down with Ismail, but they're still inside the top 6 and will feel relatively comfortable. This is the middle of the pack. This is where we're going to be focused for the rest of this session. Kazale, Hurieva, Mercuri, Gutsi, Kim, and Kapala, all within striking distance of each other in the middle of the field. Top 9, remember, making it through to the final. The chasing pack, well, the bottom 3 remain as they started. Zaina Amma will be a little disappointed to have dropped a place, but still in with a shout. The fence is done here. We'll be moving on to the obstacles very shortly. But before we do that, let's take a look back at a brilliant session of fencing. Well, great little fence there. Alida and I just talking about how good it was and how good Castaudi is, having only started fencing just a few years back. The fence is done though, and we move on to the 70-meter obstacle course. And let me tell you, the piste was hot. These obstacles are also super hot here, and the athletes have been struggling. 8 obstacles and 70 meters. And then the wall of death, as I've dubbed it, right at the end. And we had a chance for one of the athletes to show us what it looks like.
So shout out to Jana Atia, team of Egypt. She goes through the tilted ladders here, straight to the over, under and through. It is onto the flying hoops, the 5th obstacle in this course. Really have to make use of that swinging and catching and release, and then straight into the giant steps. Quick feet here as they leap for the climbing holds. Great angle, you can see just how tricky it is to get that grip strength. And then for the finish wall, to hit the finish buzzer to clock that time.
I have to say, I think a lot of the athletes in this 16-woman lineup would be pretty pleased with the time in that point of view video. The athletes going off in pairs in reverse order. Coleman, Naskari leading the line from Jansi van Rensburg and Amma. And then we'll have Kapala and Kim. And we'll roll through 8 heats as we have 16 athletes. But whilst good motivation to have someone next to you to increase your speed across the course, this is really a race against time. The quickest time will get the most points. And we've had a change around in the fence, the top 4 coming from behind to occupy the top 4 spaces. And here they are, Meyer, Karbovnik, Xiong and Castaudi. These are the top 4 athletes going in the final 2 heats of the obstacle. But we expect to turn around in the obstacle as well here. And I wonder whether it's going to be those younger athletes that set the way. Heat number 1 is ready. That's Germany's Janine Coleman. The longevity of her athletic career is something to behold. Competed way back at Rio 2016, the Olympics back in Brazil 9 years ago. Standings on the left-hand side, the bottom 2, Janine Coleman and Ariadne Naskari from Greece in the dark blue shorts and white top, the closest to us. I want to get this underway pretty quickly. The sun is still beating down here in Alexandria.
You can see the taping that the athletes use around their hands, ideally for the grip.
Heat number 1 of the obstacles is underway here. The second discipline in this pentathlon semi-final for a place in the World Cup final.
Coleman setting pace here through the tilted ladders as she makes her way over, under and through, straight into the flying hoop. She goes to that second part of it. Oh, great release and catch there from Coleman. Sticks that first landing, giant steps it is, and straight into the climbing holds. There we have it, Coleman finishing up the climbing holds as she makes her way for the finish wall. She's pushing for underneath 40 seconds. It'll be 40 seconds for Coleman. Naskari just hanging on to the flying hoops there. She's really looking for that swing to then catch and release to the last, but all about that momentum and that drive that the hips can generate. Giant steps and straight into the climbing holds.
These overhead obstacles really tough, and then they had to then get up that wall, and the effort being put in here by Naskari. She's not going to be setting the world alight in terms of time, but Alida, you always say it's better to finish than have a disqualification. And look at the effort she has to put in here, the Greek athlete, as she finally presses the button.
Great time there from Coleman. We saw, I think the fastest time today, we saw Khalil, who clocked in around 30 seconds.
Well, she was in a class of her own in that first semi-final, like not 18 seconds, about 15 seconds ahead of the next fastest time. Coleman, though, has set the fastest time in this second semi-final, and it is all about the clock. 40:33, the time set by the German. Second heat is already out here. There is Australia's Genevieve Yancy van Rensburg. She goes up against Zaina Amma, closest to us, and you know the Egyptians are good at obstacles.
Zaina Amma on the second part of the tilted ladders here. She's grabbing hold of the one arm and generates that swing to make her way to the over, under, and through. Next up are the flying hoops. She grabs that second part. Look at the swing she's generated to catch and release. Smooth transition here from Amma. Finishes off on the flying hoops. Quick feet here onto the climbing holds.
The Egyptians seem to have a special technique for the flying hoops, and similar technique through the grips.
Amma looking to finish around 40 seconds. It's a 41 finish for Amma. As Janssen van Rensburg on the flying hoops there. She finishes up, looks at her hand. It's the grip that will be tiring her arms out. Last bit of the grip strength needed. She needs that big leap. She goes for safe technique here. Needs to get through this last bit of this obstacle, looking for no elimination. Great stuff here from Janssen van Rensburg as she makes her way onwards and upwards. It's that last push for the finish wall that gets to all the athletes, and that's under 80 seconds, 78 seconds for Janssen van Rensburg. It's the hands that really got to her. We feel for Janssen van Rensburg.
Oof, yeah, you can see that left hand. Tilting ladders, Amma made it look easier than it is. This is a really tough one, but these hoops, the flying hoops, she made it look easy, but the Egyptians seem to have a tactic of going for the back of the first hoop, avoiding the front of it, and then clawing their way through the second hoop and going for a run here. The third heat shows Kapala of Poland on the far side taking on, Kapala closest to us, Kim Yuri of Korea with the dark blue shirt.
And it's Kapala who makes her way over, under, and through. Kim, last time there on the tilted ladders, Kapala goes for that second part of the flying hoop. She generates that swing, that drive with a forward and backwards movement, but it's Kim who seems to catch up. But it's Kapala in a race of her own. Quick feet here, she makes her way to the climbing hold. All about generating that backward, forward movement as Kapala does. Excellent work from Kapala. Finish wall for her. She'll be looking for under 45 seconds, under 50 seconds. Final push for Kapala. Clocks around 48 seconds. And it's Kim who's finishing up on the climbing holds. Sprint finish for Kim. Oh, just
come on!
Make it.
Oh, she's putting everything into this. The Korean just about getting to the buzzer. 65-54. It's so difficult. The overhead work that you have to do on those two obstacles, 5 and 7, just brutal. Absolutely brutal.
And it was here where Kim just lost that momentum in the tilted ladders. Kapala really showed great work here, and as you can see, it's just that final push after the whole course really gets to the athletes. We really have to dig deep, look for another form of motivation. But up next,
Blanca Guzzi, red top, green shorts, against Beatrice Mercuri of Italy. Hungary on the far side, Italy closest to us.
big wheel straight into the tilted ladders. Guzzi making use of that one arm hold. Oh, she doesn't quite commit to it, but it's a comeback from Guzzi. Sticks that landing, flies over, slides under, and pops right through. Guzzi makes way to the flying hoops. Needs to catch and release. Timing is everything here in the flying hoops. Great work from Guzzi. Finishes up off. Big steps for Guzzi and straight into the climbing holds. Great technique, really clean work here from Aguzi. Finishes off. It's a sprint for the finish. Onwards, upwards, clocks under 45 seconds for Aguzi. Mercury stuck on the climbing holds. It's a finish for Mercury for the finish wall. It'll be just over 50 seconds for Mercury.
54.06 clocked for Mercury, 44.25 for the teeth-gritted Blanca Guzzi. The work through those climbing holds, absolutely brutal. But got to say that the finishing wall was, she made that look a little easier. She's tackled the wall of death at the end better than any athlete so far. Heat number 5, Violetta Hurieva up against Luison Cazalet.
It's the big wheel straight into the tilted ladders. Cazalet making use of that forward-backward movement, gets a left and right movement, but she catches up, and it's Hurieva who's first off the tilted ladders to the over, under, and through, and straight into the flying hoop. She goes for that second part. Look at that drive she's building, but it's Cazalet who gets that clean catch and release. Loses momentum. She needs to swing and commit. Nails that landing. Giant steps for Hurieva onto the climbing holds. Needs that forward-backward movement in this portion of the obstacle. And it's a finish ball for Hurieva. Clocking just underneath 45 seconds. Last push for Cazalet for a 48-second finish. Look to the hands. Hands will be looking, just great grip strength and endurance from these athletes. Just look at the fly from Cazalet. That catch and release so smooth and precise. But it was here that Cazalet got caught out with that left to right movement swaying, which Hurieva got to the point with the forward and backwards.
3 more to come here. And there is Malak Ismail on the far side. She's up against Aurora Tognetti. Heat number 6 of the obstacle course race here. Fastest time so far, 40.23, set in the first heat by Janine Coleman of Germany.
Great stuff from Tognetti on the tilted ladder. She makes her way over, under, and through. Flying hoops for Tognetti. She catches and releases smoothly, but it's Ishmael who catches up. Tognetti finishing it off first there. Quick feet onto the climbing holds. Fast hands here from Tognetti. Will it be the fastest time in the semi-final? Finish wall for Tognetti. Onwards and upwards. Under 35 seconds for Tognetti. It is Ishmael for the finish wall. Clocking just around 38 seconds for Tognetti. For Ishmael. Tognetti with a 33-second. Excellent stuff from Tognetti.
They must have heard me saying the fastest time was set in heat number 1, a 40.33 set by Janine Coleman of Germany. But both Ishmael and Tognetti were absolutely supreme over the obstacles. Tognetti with a 33.83. Ishmael caught up on the flying hoops, but the Italian accelerated up the wall. Good times from both of them. That'll be tough to beat. Penultimate heat, Vivian Mayer, all in red. Closest to us, Margazota Karbovnik.
Big wheel straight into the tilted ladders. Karbovnik finessing here in the tilted ladders, but it's May making use of that one arm handhold. Pops over, slides under, straight through to the flying hoops. Karbovnik catches and releases smoothly, but it's Mayer pacing up with Karbovnik. These athletes are neck and neck in this obstacle course. Climbing holds, quick hands from Mayer. Look at that, great stuff from Mayer. Finish wall for her will be under 35 seconds. 35.9 for Mayer, and Karbovnik just clocks around 38 seconds. Oh, great stuff from these two athletes. I mean, it was just the quick hands from Mayer that really got her that lead in the climbing holds.
Yeah, she was superb, wasn't she? Just a little bit of extra work needed to get over the line up the wall of death. But she does it. Second fastest time for Mayer. It was 4th fastest so far by Karbovnik. Last of the heats, Xiong on the far side, Castaudi closest to us. Korea versus France.
Big wheel into the tilted ladders, making use of that one arm hold. Look at that drive, look at that momentum of Castaudi. Nails that landing, right over, under, through. Flying hoops for Castaudi, goes for that second part. Look at the drive again, catch and release. Oh, she just loses that momentum there, but she'll drive it again, but it's Xiong catching up, Castaudi finishing off in the flying hoops. Quick feet for Castaudi. Uses that reach that she can generate. Castaudi is finishing off in the climbing hold. She'll sprint for this finish ball, looking for a fast time. And it's just under 45 seconds for Castaudi. Xiong finishing off on the climbing holds. It will just be under 55 seconds for Xiong.
Well, that is the obstacles done. Fastest time from Aurora Tognetti of Italy. The second quickest time from Vivian Mayer from Switzerland. Margosota Karbovnik third. Ismail Malik of Egypt fourth. And Janine Coleman, who went off in the first heat, set the fifth fastest time. Be interesting to see what happens to her as we take a look back at that final heat. And Castaudi just breaking away from Xiong through the final heat of the obstacles. As the leader said, just lost a little bit of momentum through the flying hoops, but used that core strength to get herself swinging again. Steady through the climbing holds for a 44.42 time. Tape on Castaudi's hands to protect them from the hot obstacles here, but this is how the obstacles has affected the running order. Tognetti back up top with a 5-place gain. Mayer into second, Karbovnik into third. Those two climbing a place. Castaudi dropping down a little bit, but she's still inside the top 6. Hurieva jumping up the rankings with a great obstacle. Middle of the pack. Now we see what's happened. Look at Janine Coleman. She's moved up 5 places. Zaina Amma with a great obstacle course race moves up 7 places. But look at Xiong Seung-min. She's dropping like a stone. Blanca Guzzi on the bubble in 9th place. The chasing pack, Mercury Kim, Yancy van Rensburg and Naskari starting to fall away from their chances of making the top 9. 2 disciplines down. We've done the fence, we've done the obstacle. We will be moving on to the pool very shortly, but before we do, let's take a look back at the obstacle course race. Two down, 3 to go. The obstacles in the bright sunlight, the athletes will be pleased to see that disappear behind them. Apart from those that really did climb the rankings. We move over to the pool, just outside the main arena here, so not even a 1-minute walk to this 25-meter pool. 8 laps to be completed over 3 heats. Again, it's a race against the clock, so the swim is a chance for those that have fallen a little bit behind to try and catch up. But the job here is a fine one to balance. It's about putting in enough effort into the pool without taking too much out of yourself for the laser run. But we managed to have a quick word with the Hungarian, Blanca Guzzi. Let's hear what she has to say.
Hello, my name is Blanca Guzzi and I'm from Hungary. First, the transition between the disciplines were not an easy task because in civil life I'm also a slow person. I mean, my thinking, my whole personality. So it was strange to do it. But now, as almost 3 years that we have this change, we get used to it. So it's quite normal to hurry between the disciplines. Now I'm funny because I can say I'm not a pentathlete, I'm a heptathlete because I kept riding as a hobby. I have an own horse, so because of this fact, I'm quite happy with the OCR because it's a new challenge, a quite new challenge in my life. Right now we have a basic program. What can I do between OCR and swimming? But it requires my trainers or coach's help. So I think that we are in a good way. But this year is about learning, so we have to experience a lot of things, and that's why we try many things between the warming up, between the disciplines. So it's quite exciting to how can I discover myself and this whole sport.
Well, keeping on the horse riding as a hobby. What, does she have time? Do pentathletes have time for a hobby?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's what you make of it, and it's great to hear that she's still enjoying it and making use of her experience through the sport. But she's really one of the athletes who's really come a long way in the sport, and it's great to see her adapting to OCR.
We've got 3 heats coming up for the swim, having seen the history-making obstacle course featuring at the World Cup final here. Kapala, Mercury, Kim, Nancy van Rensburg and Nascari going in the first heat. So
Swimming director,
2 heats of 5 and then a heat of 6 to finish things off, making up our 16 athletes. And they go in reverse order on their modern pentathlon points right now. So we do have a variety of swimming abilities within each heat. In this first heat, the Australian, unsurprisingly, the Australian, good in the pool. Genevieve Nancy van Rensburg has the fastest time over the last 12 months of a 2:11.61 in the pool. Beatrice Mercuri, the Italian, who will be going in lane number 2, has the second fastest time. The others are quite a chunk behind. So perhaps we should be looking out for Nancy van Rensburg and Mercuri's time in the pool in order to try and catch up with that chasing pack going for those top 9 places.
Yep, if I recall correctly, Nancy van Rensburg swam the time of 2:11 at the Paris Olympic Games, so it was her, I think, one of her best times yet. So it was her tip-top form there. So keep an eye out for Mercury and Nancy van Rensburg, who will be setting the pace and making waves in this first heat of this women's semi-final.
Adriana Kapala of Poland leading them out, should be closest to us in lane number 1.
Number 5 representing Greece, Ariadne.
Go down through the lanes across the pool.
Let's go start.
Beatrice Mercuri, Kim Yuri, Genevieve Nancy van Rensburg in 4, and Ariadne Nascari in lane number 5. The pole on the starting block. Heat number 1 of the swim is underway here at the 2025 World Cup final.
So it's 8 laps of this 25-meter pool. 4 50s will be breaking it down into athletes turning on the first half of the first 50. And it seems like Mercuri setting pace here. As we say, first 50, setting the pace, not going out too fast.
Number 2, Beatrice Mercuri.
Mercuri turning first on her first 50. Nancy van Rensburg turning side by side with Kim of Korea.
Beatrice Mercury, lane number 2.
Mercury really looking to the right-hand side of her breathing.
Beatrice Mercury.
Breathing every second stroke. It's that 100 meter where you just want to get as much oxygen in for those two final 50s where you want to put everything else into it, because from the third 50 it's where it gets tough, but it's Mercury setting pace, making way for her first bit of the third 50. And look at that kick that she's generating now. Legs are getting into motion here. It's not too far behind. Janssen van Rensburg pacing herself up with Kim of Korea.
Yeah, good stuff from Kim. Her best time in the last 12 months, 2:19.18, sticking with the Australian. Sorry, with the Italian, I should say.
Mercury turning for her last 50. Just look at the kick. It's not a general 1-2 kick that she has, but it's more of a 1-2 long kick that she's got. See the changing rhythm of the kick there. Turning for her last 25 meters of this 200. She's flying through. She's looking for a fast time. Mercury is looking to clock around 2:15. And we are 2:14 for Mercury. Janssen van Rensburg finishing up around 2:22, and Kim just over 2:20 with a 2:24. We do see the female athletes clock around about 2:20, and those who can just get under that 2:20 threshold are really the outliers and can really stand out from the rest of the field.
Again in the pool, ready for the laser run, so it's really critical there. Kim just dropping away from Janssen van Rensburg in that final 50. And interesting to see whether that was a deliberate ploy, feeling that she'd done enough in the early stages, or whether she just ran out of gas. You talked about Mercury's long kick, 1-2. It's not a traditional 1-2. Just give us a little bit more of a clue for those of us that don't know so much about swimming.
Yeah, so ultimately it could be an energy-saving tactic, not necessarily giving all her energy in that 1-2 kick. But, I mean, if she has upper body strength and a great stroke and catch, that could really be the reason why she's not really making use of that 1-2 kick. But it's just transferring the energy from the lower body to the upper body. But Mercury has a really strong swim, and I think she really needed that time for the start of the laser run if she wants to make it through to the finals.
Thank you, athletes.
Well, here is the second heat, heat 5, Amma in 1 from Xiong, Gutsi, Coleman and Cassele. And many people watching will go for a regular swim, but to compete at this level, the amount of technical nous one has to have to increase your times is absolutely incredible. So good job we've got a leader sitting in the commentary box to talk us through it. Out they come. Zeina Amma will have the crowd behind her here. The fastest times, though, in the last 12 months from Xiong Xunmin of 2:11.47 and Blanca Gutsi with a 2:15.84. Kazali in lane 5, maybe in that front running group. Amma, the slowest swimmer in this group in lane 1. Here we go. Heat number 2 of the second women's semi-final. Top 9 places being hunted down by all the athletes in the lineup.
In your screen there, you have Xiongming Xiong of Korea, fastest seeded swimmer in this heat. She is the bronze medalist in the Paris Olympics, so she'll bring in all the experience that she's gained throughout the years to this World Cup final. Athletes making their way in their last bit of the first 50. Zeina Amma at the bottom of your screen. Really actually keeping up the pace there with Xiong. She will be looking to pace herself up against the rest of the field as she can look towards the right. But it's Zhang who's just swimming away from the rest of the athletes here, turning on her last bit of the first 100 onto the third 50 of this 200 meters. This is where the athletes get the legs out. The legs start kicking. Good rhythm here from Zhang. It's all about that underwater streamline from every turn and every tumble. You can really kick off so many seconds with a great underwater work. You can see that 1-2 kick from Zhang. She makes her way for the last 50. And to the left of her, Blanca Guzzi. And it's the last 25. This is where athletes put their heads down for that sprint finish. Whether it be they're trying to swim a faster time than usual. But it looks like Zhang will be clocking around just under 2:15 and not far behind her, Guzzi, around 2:16. Coleman and Kazali with great times too, and it's Armour finishing off in 2:27.
So, fastest time swum so far by Seung-min, looking to gain places by setting the pace in the second heat. Guzzi setting a 2:16.21, and Coleman coming through, sticking with Guzzi through that swim with a 2:18.61. Those are in the top 4 of the swim times so far.
Just look at that tumble turn from Zhang, and it's those dolphin kicks in between every 25 that really helps her shave off every second. Keep in mind, every second that you shave off in the swimming scores you an extra 2 pentathlon points.
Well, one more heat to come in the pool. We have 6 athletes in this lineup, and this is the top 6 in the rankings after the obstacle course. Tognetti of Italy going in 1, from Meyer of Switzerland, Karbovnik of Poland, Castaudi from France, Ismail from Egypt, and the neutral athlete Hurieva. Tognetti leading us out. The fastest time in the pool in the middle lane. Marga Zotta Karbovnik with a 2:14.73, her fastest time in the last 12 months. And Malak Ismail of Egypt in lane number 5 with the second fastest time, just a little ahead, a 2:15.70 for her, but just a little ahead of Hurieva with a 2:16.81. In fact, Tognetti has a pretty quick time as well, 2:17.86. It'll be interesting to see how they fare in this 25-metre pool. Heat number 3 of the swim in the semi-final of the Women's Pentathlon World Cup final.
And they're off. Tognetti, the highest seeded pentathlete in this heat. She's currently sitting on 574 points. Hurieva in lane 6 at the top of your screen, who's currently sitting on 538 points. So there is a 40-point gap here. So Hurieva will be looking to put in a good swim. But it's Karbovnik who's taking lead here of this first 50 in this 200. Tognetti will be comfortable in this 200 meters as she does not need to put the fastest time in before the start of the laser run.
Turning first, it's Karbovnik, and Tognetti at the top of the screen. Looks like she just had the turn on the neutral athlete. Sorry, on Malak Ismail, I think it was.
So Karbovnik turning on a 106. She should clock around just above 2:16. But look at that rhythm from Karbovnik, that she's setting, using to pace herself, maybe that 1-2 that she's telling herself as she swims. But it's Tognieti who's just keeping up with Karbovnik. Karbovnik only looking towards the right, so doesn't quite see where Tognieti is catching up to her. And Hurieva to the top of the screen alongside Malik Ismail as they turn for the last 50 of this 200 meters.
Stayed tight through here, haven't they? Apart from Karbovnik out in the front, clearly. Tognieti, Ismail and Hurieva all in quite a tight little pack.
Yeah.
Starting to break away though into a clear second is the athlete closest to us. So we've got a swim for the line and the time.
Looks like Karbovnik finishing off first in this heat. 2:16 for Karbovnik, 2:17 for Tognieti and 2:18 for Malik Ismail. As you can see again, just getting around that 2:20 mark is what you really want to get. Anything lower sets you apart from the rest of the pack. But great stuff there from Polish athletes, Karbovnik.
So the fastest swim from Xiong in the second heat at 2:14.55. Second fastest in the first swim from Mercurial. First heat from Mercurial 2:14.92. And then you've got Gutsi with a 2:16.21 and Karbovnik with a 2:16.57. And we'll take a look back at the third heat in a class of her own. But as you alluding to, perhaps just pacing this one a little bit, Karbovnik.
Yeah. And we know Karbovnik to be excellent in the laser run. I mean, she's really talented in the shooting. So I think it all comes down to just where you want to stand for the start of that laser run. But Tognieti will be comfortable in her position there.
Well, the swim done the third of the 5 disciplines after the fence and the obstacles. And this is how it's affected the standings. Karbovnik with her swim moving up a place into second. Tognieti staying up the top and 3 of the top 6 staying in position. The swim from Xiong, the fastest, putting her into the top 6. Can she hold station for a top 9 finish in the laser run? Gutsi Coleman climbing the ranks along with Cazalet, and Mercuri's swim has put her in contention as well. 8:01 the ranking points on the bubble for 9th place. And these are the chasing athletes who are going to be just a little bit behind here, but the top 14 probably still in with a very good chance. We have the laser run to come here in Alexandria, but before we do, let's take a look back at the action from the pool. Well, 3 of the 5 disciplines complete, and we will have our starting list for the laser run after that epic swim. It's always difficult in the semi-finals because the athletes are saving themselves for this mammoth run on the grass. 5 laps of the 600-meter course. The athletes will go around in what's called a formation lap for the first lap in a staggered start based on ranking points. Once they've been through the start-finish line first time, they'll enter the range for the first time. 4 visits to the range in total. Got to hit the target 5 times before they can move on to continue their lap. The 5th lap will be the one we're super focused on, because the athletes that make the top 9 over the line are the ones that will qualify for Sunday's grand final. We're watching the 2025 Pentathlon World Cup Women's Semi-Final B, and the laser run is about to come. And this is what it looks like for the athletes.
So here we have a GoPro strapped to Genevieve Janssen van Rensburg, who's in the semi-final. She makes her way to the shooting series. She gets those 5 green lights that she needs before running out of the shooting range. The running lap really makes use of turns, and it's almost like a in and out lap that we have. We'll see a lot of takeovers happening on the straight, and it's here where athletes will make use of those shorter, quick steps to really catch up. And it's again on the straight here where those takeovers will be taking place. It is a grass track, soft on the knees, but might feel a bit heavier towards the finish of the race as they curve left. Just the last 300 meters of this lap. And again, where those quick feet will come in, short strides, straight to the start finish spot of this laser run course.
Yeah, soft on the knees, the grass, but going to get heavy going. We saw in the first semi-final the athletes just taking their time through that first lap before they run into the shooting range for the first visit, and that's where we're going to see the changes. You can have a good shoot, and that can climb a lot of places. And we've got 16 in the lineup near the back of the field. The Australian Genevieve Janssen van Rensburg, and here she is in shot. We were lucky enough to have a word with her.
Hi, I am Genevieve Janssen van Rensburg, and I am an Australian modern pentathlete. The swim to the laser run is always a little tricky because you're in like super tight race suits and you've only got 10 minutes. So basically, as soon as you get out the pool, you're running with a towel to get to the change rooms and get into running gear. For me, I like to do a lap or two between the swim and the laser run. And in that lap, I'll also stop and do some shooting, because after the swim, your adrenaline is so high and the lactic acid makes your arms so shaky that if you don't like stop to breathe and shoot, your arm is just everywhere. I've had everything sighted. Last year we had a proper like target which showed all your shots, like where you're hitting, and I decided it then. So when I come to competitions, I don't have to worry about it. I know that it's accurate to what I shoot. I just have to turn it on and focus when I shoot and make sure that I'm doing everything correctly and pulling the trigger nice and softly, and like everything's like good. So it's pretty low stress for me. I find it a lot easier not having to worry about it when I go into competitions. We have like three or four main parts. You have the grip, so this is usually customized depending on like what your athlete prefers. So some people use tape or wood. They can also be double-sided grips. And the next thing is the trigger. So some people like them really soft with no resistance. I like mine to have a little bit of resistance in the middle so I don't accidentally shoot it on the way up. What you have to do to reload the gun, so you just flick it all the way up until you hear a click, that's reloaded, and then you're ready to take your next shot. Yeah. And then you've got your sights, so this is what you were talking about before, changing like your settings really. So this is making sure that where you see is like bullseye is actually where the gun is shooting. So these two like little knobs, you can move them and that changes if it's up or down or left to right. Yeah. And then you have your sights, which are like how you aim. But yeah, everyone kind of knows that bit. So yeah.
Bonza. Great explanation there from Genevieve. Now, she's sitting 2 minutes 44 behind in the handicap point system, but any of the athletes 1 minute 30 seconds handicap behind the leader. Actually, they all go out in a pack at 1 minute 30. There are 4 of them, including Jansiek van Rensburg, along with Kapala, Kim and Naskari. I don't want to write them off. I'm not going to write them off, but this is going to be a challenge for those 4. But we certainly got a race on, split into 2 packs really at the top. Coleman has done really well to get into the bubble. She's sitting in 9th position and in a gaggle of Xiong, Hurieva, Gutsi, Casali, Amma and Mercuri. I think those are the ones that are really going to be hunting down places 6, 7, 8 and 9. But what do I know? The pack up the front, though, have got quite a bulky lead. Tonieti goes off first. 3 seconds later, it will be Karbovnik from Poland. Then the French athlete goes 16 seconds after the leader, Castaudi, along with Vivian Mayer. Malak Ismail a second behind that. And then we go into that chasing pack, who are 21 seconds at best behind that leading group of 5. What do you say to that? Have I got it roughly right?
You've got it down to the point there, Karim. But I tell you what, we're in for a really interesting semi-finals. I mean, a real shift of standings that can happen here. But here you have the starting list of these female athletes.
That top 5 got that big gap over Xiong Min.
Yeah, I mean, and look at Castaudi and Mayer as well as Malik Ismail will be starting off around about the same time. But it's that distance between Coleman and Mercuri. It's less than 10, 20 seconds. And tell you what, anything can happen there. And it really will just come down to the shooting. And maybe in the first formation lap, Mercuri and Zaina Alma as well as Kazali will be pushing a bit more than usual to make it into that top 9.
Yeah, so 16 athletes in the lineup. They're preparing by the start-finish straight, and we are almost ready to go. Top 9 at the end of this 3,000 meters will qualify for the final. And off we go. Aurora Tognetti of Italy out of the blocks, shortly followed by Malgorzata Karbovnik. And we have another 13 seconds before Castaudi and Mayer, France and Switzerland, leave the starting area. Malak Ismail just a second behind them. So that's the top 5 out of the starting lineup. We've got another 21 seconds before we see Xiong, shortly followed by Hurieva, and then Gutsi. So Xiong ready to go. Xiong out, Hurieva out, Gutsi's ready and gone, and the next out is the 9th placed German Janine Coleman. We follow Gutsi around the track. Coleman is up and running as well, sitting in 9th place. So there's Coleman coming into the back straight. Tognetti leading the line.
But it all comes down to Kazali, Amr and Mercuri. They'll be hunting down Coleman for that 9th position.
Coleman with the red top wearing number 9. That's her starting position. If she can stay in that top 9, she will qualify for the final. Dark sunglasses on because the sun is still shining here on this grand stadium. And Coleman on the inner loop that goes one way then t'other.
Just watch how Kazali is really closing up the gap there on to Coleman. Amr, who's hunting down Kazali. Athlete by athlete, they'll be looking to pass and make their way through to that top 9. It also looks as if Guzi has passed Herrera on this first lap.
Yeah, good call there. The Hungarian just taking over the place, the 7th place from Hurieva. And Kazali now just pacing behind Coleman as Tognetti enters the range. 5 shots to the target, 5 green lights required for Tonietti to get out, and not far behind her, Karbovnik, who's already got ahead in the shoot. She's on 4 out of 5. Karbovnik's going to come out of the range first, and Tonietti just struggling to get the 3rd shot in. Karbovnik leaves early. Tonietti still struggling, and a nearly 18-second shoot for her, and Castaudi's caught up massively.
Malik Ismail with 5 green lights puts herself into 4th position, and not far behind her is Shong. Real shuffle of standings here. It is Malik Ismail, Shong, and not far behind Bayer. It's a fight for that 9th position though here as the athletes are in the range, and it's Guzi out next, followed by Hureyeva. Can Ghazali get these 5 green lights as she's doing? She's got 3 green lights. Coleman sitting on the first one. Ghazali's out in the range.
Ghazali's taken over 9th place from Coleman. Coleman is getting lapped up here. Amma could overtake her as well. Amma is going to overtake her, and Hureyeva in 8th place is holding station, but Ghazali behind her is now in 9th. The French athlete wearing number 10 on the bubble has done a good job on the first lap of the running, and then overtaken her opponent in the range. She holds the last semi-final spot at the moment. We've got 3 more shoots to come, but Luisson Casselet of France in the vital 9th position. Got a nice running technique, pretty smooth, shoulders staying nice and level.
Yeah, great stuff here from Kazali, but not far behind her is Zaina Amma, who'll be hunting her down. Seems as if Hureyeva is just falling towards the back behind Guzi, but it's Kazali is looking to hunt down Hureyeva. If Coleman can pick up with the next shooting series, she could still be in the race here, but it's Kazali still sitting on 9th position. Coleman catching up on to Zaina Ahmed.
Coleman having to put down the afterburners to catch up from a difficult first shoot. But it's Casale holding 9th place at the moment. She's got around about a 25-meter lead. Doesn't look like she's closing in on Hureyeva as much as she was earlier. Hureyeva another 30 meters ahead as the leaders are in the range and looking clear. Karbovnik overtaking from Tonietti in the first lap. Karbovnik is on 3 at the moment, and well, 4 athletes leaving the range at the same time. Karbovnik leading out as the chasing pack enter the range. Out comes Gutsi. Gutsi moves up to 6th position. Meyer struggling in the range this time. Hureyeva also struggling, but again, the lights all go on at the same time.
And it's Kazali who's still sitting on that 9th position. She's hunting down Vivian Meyer, who started up in 4th, dropped down to 8th position. Zaina Amma still in the fight for this final position.
Yeah, Meyer struggling in the second shoot, and now Casale is on her heels as Amma chases down Casale. Casale, when you get in sight of your opponent in front of you, then it does give you a little bit of extra motivation. Casale holding 9th. Meyer, you can see, starting to rock the shoulders. She's starting to tire in the heat. Casale is going to sweep her up here before we get to the range, unless she decides just to sit behind her and pace herself.
Yeah, Meyer's really just struggling there, and it's because Kazali who's catching up onto her. She'll make that overtaking here on that bend.
Yeah, just 17 years old, Meyer. Perhaps went out a little too fast. It's a little bit more experience on the laser run. Casale moves up into 8th and into a slightly safer position. Meyer, though, looks like she could be in danger here. Gotta say, though, Amma doesn't seem to be catching quite at the rate that she was early doors. Perhaps she's just holding back a little bit here.
Yep. Amma will be looking to catch up on to Meyer. Meyer seems to be tiring up, but it all comes down to the shooting series. Coleman trying to catch up onto Amma, but also just struggling on that shooting series there. athletes will be making their way to that third shooting series. We'll shuffle up between the standings as we have Kastaudy, Shong and Karbovnik in the range. Still sitting on, oh, and it looks like Karbovnik is off and away with her third lap of the race, followed by Kastaudy.
Yeah, the leader's coming out of the range. Looks like Gutsi may catch up as well here. And Gutsi does move up into third position out of the range, but it's the chasing pack, 8, 9, 10, 11 and 12 in the hunt for 2 places, the last 2 places in the semi-finals to make it through to the finals. Maya having a slightly better shoot than she did, but Kazale is out safely in 8th position. Amma also struggling in the range. Maya stuck on 3.
Kazale will be looking to take over Hurieva in this lap, but it's Mayo. Will she keep this 9th position as Amma is hunting her down, closing the gap onto her? Amma will be relying on her running, on her legs for that final lap.
One more visit to the range for these athletes, and Maya has held on so far. Kazale looks like she's going to move up into 7th place. She's going to take Hurieva on the track. She's getting herself into a solid position. But here, Maya clinging on. She's got another lap after the shoot. Amma can see her now and has just started to push a little bit harder. She's wearing the a leg brace, a knee brace on her left leg. I wonder what she's carrying in terms of injuries. She's just about 12, 15 meters behind Maya, who we're looking at. Maya taking a look over her shoulder. She probably couldn't quite see Amma as she was still around the other side of the bend, but now we can see the gap between 9th and 10th.
It's on this straight here where Amma is trying to fight for that piece of energy where she can catch up on to Maya. Maya, who started up.
Karbovnik gets the bell, sorry, Karbovnik gets the bell. Kastaudy, Song, Gutsi, Karbovnik, Ismail, Tonyeti, Hurieva, Kazeli, and here is Maya in 9th place. The leaders enter the range.
Maya, who started up in 4th position, is being hunted down by Amma. They're looking for that 9th position, but it's also Tognetti, who started up in 1st, who's now sitting on 7th. But it's towards the beginning of the pack. We have Kastaudy, Guzi, and Karbovnik, followed by Malik Ismail with those 5 green lights.
Kastaudy out front. She's looking solid and she's still running hard. But it's all about this race for 9th. Hurieva needs one more to get out of the range for the last time. She gets it. Tonyeti's not far behind. Maya is now struggling. Amma is on 2. Maya is on 1. Who is going to get out of the range first? It looks like Maya has just about done it. And here comes Maya on the outer loop on the back straight. She's putting down a bit of pace here, the Swiss athlete. She's trying to build a lead in the early part of this first lap, and she has broken away from Amma. Maya fighting hard, digging deep to extend her lead in 9th position, but Amma coming down the back straight behind her, pushing super hard.
It is Maya who just really shifted the gears here for that last lap. Looks as if she will be taking over Tognetti, but it's Tognetti holding on to that 7th position.
Tonyeti pumping hard, breathing hard. You can see her just on the right-hand side of your screen being hunted down. Look at how Tonyeti is struggling in the heat here. They've got a big lead over Amma. Amma coming up. I think she's left this a little too late here and maybe has run out of steam.
Maya really making use of that straight. She'll be looking to take over Tognetti, but it's in this position where they're quite comfortable for those top 9 positions.
Yeah, they are looking comfortable now. Maya looks like she is going to take Tognetti here as the leaders come up to the finishing line. What a run from Kastaudy. The French athlete doing her walk like an Egyptian over the line. Gutsi, what a performance from her. Great shooting, solid run. She comes through in second. Karbovnik is not too far behind. There's a gaggle of 5 athletes crossing the line to fill the places in the final, holding hands across the line. Ismail and Karbovnik crossing in third and fourth. Maya, who looked to be struggling, comes across the line, and in 9th place, it's Aurora Tognetti. She dropped down from first, the leader going into the laser run, but she held on for 9th, and Amma just didn't quite have enough to challenge for the top 9 places, comes through in an agonizing 10th position, having gained 1 place in the laser run. The rest of the field coming through. Coleman did so well in the obstacle race, so well in the swim, but just couldn't hold it together to stay in the top 9. She runs all the way to the line, the German, though, for a solid finish. The trailing pack coming in, led by Kim, the Korean, who will finish in 12th. She's got a good 30-meter lead over Naskari, who's done well to climb 3 places in the laser run. Kim, 10 meters out. And it's a solid run from Naskari behind her. She puts on a little sprint at the end to finish the job off. More to come from the Greek athlete, that is for sure. Mercury, the Dolphin in the pool, didn't quite have it on the laser run course. She comes over the line in 14th position. The Italian crossing the line, 2 more to come. It's coming around the inner ring of this run. Kapala, the Pole, will finish 15th. And, another 20 seconds behind her. Nancy van Rensburg from Australia. So important for these athletes, despite not making the grand final on Sunday, to put in a good performance. They're proud athletes that have worked hard to make the World Cup final. Kapala coming over the line in the second semi-final in the women's competition in 15th place and completing the laser run. Genevieve Yancy van Rensburg from Australia crosses the line, the proud Aussie in the green and gold, completing the women's semi-final. The top 9, Kastaudi Gutsi, Ismail Karbovnik, Xiong, Kasali, Hurieva, Meyer and Tognetti make it through to the World Cup final here on Sunday. Great to see Tognetti, who struggled across the line, just looking after her teammate Mercury, who finished in 14th position, breathing hard. There is the winner of the second semi-final. And the 2 Italians together. When we take a look back over the laser run, Tognetti starting out just a few seconds ahead of Karbovnik. Kastaudi, Meyer and Ismail went out shortly after them, but on the bubble right at the beginning, it was Janine Coleman from Germany. Entering the range, Tognetti was overtaken early doors by Karbovnik, stormed into the lead. And Coleman struggled in the range. And out came Kasali, who struck early to get into the top 9 positions. For much of the race, she sat in 9th. She was pacing herself, and she got her pacing absolutely perfect. Meyer was then the one that started to struggle, getting swept up by Kasali. She looked like it was all done and dusted, to be fair, but somehow she dug deep, Meyer. Kasali taking her, And then the Swiss athlete, well, she started to find form in the range, and that is what saved her. Meyer then trying hard, but Castaldi made her move on Karbovnik on the track and then got the bell. And Castaldi then in the range showed her form. Meyer coming out in 9th, holding on, and actually made places up in the final lap. Tognetti starting to tire. But over the line in first place, it was Castaldi, like I say, walking like an Egyptian into the World Cup final. Solid performance from her to win the second women's semi-final. And she still looks like she's got bags of energy. Tognetti held on in the end for 9th position as Meyer took her for 8th. But look at the effort that Tognetti had to put in. Castaldi looking like she could go again in the laser run. Fantastic performance there from all 16 athletes. Good changes around in the range and on the track.
Yeah, I mean, it was great stuff there, especially from Kazali, who started up in 10th position and really secured her spot in the final. As you can see, she ranked herself up 4 extra places, and Blanca Guzzi an extra 6 places.
Amazing.
So it'll be dangerous to see these 2 athletes in the final.
Yeah, Castaldi did a great job as well, especially in the range on the 3rd and 4th visit. You've got to feel that Malak Ismail was pacing herself through that to leave some space and some juice, as you called it earlier on. The 3 that complete the finishers who will make it through to the final. Hurieva, the neutral athlete. Vivian Mayer, who looked to be tiring very early on in the laser run, hung on and paced herself nicely. Aurora Tognetti, the athlete, the last athlete in the second women's semi-final to qualify for the final on Sunday. Zaina Amma put in a great effort, but just didn't have enough left in the tank at the end. Coleman, despite a good start in the race, fell away early. Coming up the rear, Kim Kapala, Rensburg, Yancy van Rensburg, and Naskari. What a brilliant laser run. What a brilliant second semi-final. Another 9 athletes joined the 9 from the first semi-final for the grand final here in Alexandria on Sunday. That's it on the women's semi-final day, but join us tomorrow where the men will take to the track here in Alexandria.
Okay.